Hi, and welcome back to Hope Springs. My colleague Sylvia Glow, and today's topic is building a trusting relationship after separation and divorce. So it's a really interesting topic, and I'm excited about it. How are you today, Sylvia?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been a busy week, hasn't it? We've done a lot of collaboration together, so it feels like it's been one of those, well, from last week into this week. But today I have a free as in more time today to rest and slow down. How about you?
Yes, similar. I do have to say, Friday evening, I was exhausted because of all of the work, but I took my time over the weekend just to kind of recharge. So, yeah, I'm in a
Yeah,
good form.
that's good. So we talked about this topic because it's such interesting topic, and for me, I guess it kind of holds two different meaning in terms of my own personal experiences as well as professional experience of working with people who are going through separation and divorce. How about you? What does this topic mean for you?
Yeah, it's very close to my heart just because I went through that myself, and
Mm,
plus I see many people, not only women, experiencing that. So, yeah, I
mhm,
think it would be good to discuss that. I do consider myself now being in a good place, but it took me a very long time to arrive
mhm.
here. So,
Yeah. Do you want to are you okay sharing a little bit about your experience in terms of the journey?
yeah,
And maybe later we could give a few tips to our audience and what that might look like.
yeah. So, my last marriage, I was married for, oh my goodness, probably 9, 10 years. It was a long time. Um, and it just didn't work uh, for many, many reasons. Probably like we both didn't know how to build the relationship.
Mhm,
We were quite young. We had our first daughter when I was like what, 25, so it was quite young. Like I still was trying to figure out life. Then obviously I was in another country, so that's the additional pressure added up because like you don't have a family around,
mhm,
so you know you don't have this advice of like what you should do or whatever, so it's really on you. Yeah, what I've learned is just like I my probably biggest take on like relationship and love was that I always associated that as a feeling, where I no
mhm,
longer consider that as a feeling because feelings are fading. I do
mhm,
believe it's more about doing, how you care about each other, even in the the most harsh moments of your life. So it has changed completely. But yeah, as I said, like my relationship didn't work out. Um, it took me a
mhm,
long time to digest it and build more um, like a healthier mindset in order to build something better.
mhm.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to it in terms of the time because I think when you're younger, your expectations and understanding of relationship is different to when you're older. Um, so I kind of had a similar experience in terms of getting married and then divorce. Um, and I was a bit older when I was 20, gosh, I forgot, 27 or 28 when I had my first child. Um, and we were similarly kind of that young age. And I suppose there wasn't any discussion about the relationship. It happened quickly, got pregnant quickly, and we just suddenly formed a family. But I think for him, he came from a different background where he was brought up in the foster care system. So it was quite a difficult system in terms of living in a children's home. So you didn't really have a good model of what that looked like in terms of family. I came from a different environment, different culture. Although were black, I was black, he was black. He was born in the UK, I was born in the West Indies. So we had different expectations of what family relationship would look like. I was brought up in a very large extended family with six of our siblings plus my mom and dad plus lots of cousin aunts, grandparents around. So my experience of what family life should look like and what relationship should look like was different to his. So I think over time, kind of those things got in the way. So you're right, the feelings kind of was there and there was attraction,
Mm,
but we didn't really have similar values and experience of what relationship would look like. So that got in the way and it caused a lot of I think tension and stress. And as I've got older now, I'm starting to realize that in order to build a solid relationship, you have to first of all be solid within yourself, kind of know who you are, and also know what your values are and what your expectations of what a healthy relationship should look like.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I would also add, like, as you said, like, we were similar in to, like, we never discussed our individual goals for life
Hmm.
and our vision for the relationship and the family itself. So I think it's a problem, I think, because when you don't know where you're going, then obviously you're trying to create something, and
Hmm.
it doesn't necessarily work out.
Yeah. So I'm sort of interested in the type in terms of trusting, because I guess how my brain works, you know how my brain works now. I like to kind of, it has to take a sequence. One thing has to connect to the next. And I suppose I'm thinking of trust. What does trust mean? Because everyone would probably have a different definition of trust. For me, trust is something that it's more about trusting that inner gut, inner guidance system that when you know, you know, you know. So I look back and think when I met my ex and even other relationships over before and after him, I there was a initial thing that said something wasn't right or something in your gut says not sure, but you kind of went with your feelings rather than your that feeling of emotion that it feels nice rather than it actually this feels a bit not sure. So for me it's like really trusting your instinct. Your The first thought that comes in your head when you meet someone is that thing that you have to call on to that trust.
Mm,
um, but so it's about trusting that inner voice, but also seeking guidance. So I like to pray and meditate and wait for decisions in terms of waiting in silence for the right time. But that comes with taking risk as well, doesn't it?
yeah,
So, well, how do you see trust?
yeah. I think, like, very similar. I used to be more of, like, I don't know, maybe it's a cultural thing, or I don't know, kind of more probably like chasing, you
Hmm.
know, and trying to figure out, oh, okay, does he like me or not, that kind of way.
Hmm.
Where now I know that if someone likes you, they'll show you. And probably
Hmm.
it's even better for the men to show you that interest and how much they care. You should leave them a room because they kind of like hunters. They need to
Hmm.
feel that that they can really do something and show you that they are a good fit for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think there's something in that in terms of although society has changed and is becoming more fluid, there's definitely instinctive reaction in for both men and women. And men, as much as we want to be independent women, men like that challenge of chasing as well, which is really interesting because I listened to a friend sent me a WhatsApp thing last couple of days ago, and it was these young men in their 20s and they were talking about kind of that what they think a girl should do, a woman should do before she actually enters in a relationship. And they thought she needed to have sex with anyone and everyone in order to for her to know, and also for him to decide whether she's the right person for him. And I started getting annoyed, and my friend was saying, I was like, kind of, well, actually, the girl has a choice. And it's not necessarily just about sex. And my friend was saying, well, that's the current generation, how they're thinking. And I thought, well, some of the generation, but not everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's confusion around what relationship is and kind of how to trust oneself. And I think maybe for a lot of, as you said, like a girl or woman in the past, culturally and in terms of gender, well, I guess we were sold the idea that we needed to um, kind of be flexible and pursue and maybe make him more important than we were,
Yeah.
in terms of kind of waiting for him to ring, waiting for him to kind of make the decision, which is partly what he wants to do and he should do. But it doesn't mean that he's more important than you in terms
Mm-hmm.
of kind of a relationship and forming a
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like we should really express our desires early to avoid the
Mhm.
disappointment, not to push someone, just say, look, um, I'm looking for someone for a serious relationship. I want to get married. I don't think there's anything bad in being honest from the start. You know, obviously not on the first date, but
Mhm.
once you get to know each
Some people
other,
do, yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
another story. But yeah, I do believe that, you know, it's better just to avoid the disappointment, because like I know many women and like friends that are waiting for the ring or whatever for 5 years or so, you know,
Mhm.
without expressing their desire. So
Yeah, yeah. And I guess we're kind of like, I suppose it's flowing into so there's what we're talking about is like maybe being very clear about where you are right now in your life, and kind of what do you know or understand trust, what is trust for you, what would that look like, be very clear.
mhm,
And what is the ideal relationship, because sometimes because we're not used to what a healthy happy relationship look like, we end up choosing kind of people who are not right for us. And
mhm,
it's not just the person for all, it's also you have to take responsibility. So um say for example, as a woman, I'm speaking as a woman, that if you are looking for the person to make you happy, it means that you don't know what happiness is, you're not happy within yourself, and
mhm,
it's not the person's responsibility to make you happy. So there's something about understanding what healthy relationship looks like. Have you been around healthy relationship, and who are your role models in
mhm,
that way?
mhm. Yeah, I think I like that concept of like being whole before you
Mm-hmm.
enter the relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
look, I don't think that you have to have all the money in the world, whatever, you know, or
Yeah.
have the best career, because, you know, if you are on that concept of perfection, you will never reach it. However, uh, it for me, it's just like, okay, I'm okay on my own. You know, obviously, if I have a partner, it could be even better. But
Mm-hmm.
if I don't, it's also okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's from my favorite book on relationship, Soulmate. She talks about you have to be the relationship that you want. You have to be in love with you. So if you can spend time with you and time on your own and actually be happy with who you are, other people are going to want to be around you. They don't want to be around someone who's needy or stressed, too stressed or overwhelmed and or too tired or too sad or whatever. You have to make sure that you're feeling okay. Which brings me on to in terms of where you are right now. Because if you're going through a separation or divorce, it means that it's gonna change your whole view on life. For example, I remember when I separated, I had to ask myself that question. I was remember saying to my mom, I don't even know who I am anymore. I've
Mm.
lost my identity. I've lost myself. So it was a whole journey. It took years to find and I'm still finding that, trying to find that person. And so I think the things I started to do was to go to the gym because I started looking, not that I put weight on, but I felt unhealthy. I changed my hairstyle, and just the physical things like going for massages. But also, I started doing more self development work in terms of, doing more spiritual and self development to find out who I am, what do I want. So when I look back, actually, the person I knew in the relationship, I kept saying to myself, this is not who I am. This is not me. This is not how I was brought up. But I still couldn't figure out in the relationship at the time and how to get out, how to find me again. So when I left that relationship, I had to find myself again, and I was quite happy not to date or not to be in a relationship because I just thought I don't want to do this all over again.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that when I start dating, I'm very aware and very conscious of what I'm doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
How about you?
Um, it was a little bit different. I Yeah, I had that feelings of like mm, I am not realizing I'm not expressing my full self.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, I remember I had crazy dreams. Like actually, in one of the dreams, that was my mother-in-law, and it was very symbolic. Uh, she gave me her shoes, and she was like, "Oh, here are the shoes," and I was like, "Yeah, but these shoes are too small for me." So it was really
Wow.
that literal of like,
Yeah.
yeah, I cannot do the same thing. I
Yeah.
For me, it has to be something different. Um, so it was interesting, and yeah, it took me a long time. Unfortunately, I didn't give myself time out. I kind of like jumped into one
Hmm.
relationship or situationship to another,
Hmm.
which caused even more damage to who I was at the time. Um, but I guess like when I hit the rock bottom, then I was like, I cannot take this anymore. you
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, and that was my big decision. I think there is no perfect way. Obviously, it'd be great to avoid all of this damage, but then on the other hand, maybe I'm like this phoenix
Yeah.
that was just
You like
reborn from all the
the
ashes.
risk taker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think about what you're saying because I remember when I maybe a year, kind of 2 3 years after, and going on holidays with my two daughters. They were very young, and also kind of being around situation where you all everywhere you went there were couples or families, and feeling really sad and somewhere some resentful as well that they've got a relationship, how I'm gonna, and I don't have anyone. And I heard a lot of people who, so single parents, say that same thing, men or women, that's they go through that stage when everywhere they go that they've seen like the perfect looking families, and it makes them feel guilty, it makes them feel sad, resentful, angry. And you have to go through that period, and then you get to that stage where you're constantly looking for someone to fill that gap,
Hmm.
that they're going to be the one that's going to help you make that perfect family. And I actually remember kind of visualizing that perfect home, 4 bedroom house with the with the new partner husband, and having wanting another child, having 3 children, and living happily ever after. And that didn't happen and hasn't happened. And it was really kind of, I mean, I'm in a kind of different situation where I kind of like my freedom and like kind of independence to date, etc. But I think it's a phase that you have to go through if you're separated or divorced,
Hmm.
where you can go through that period of thinking that you want to recreate that perfect family. And part of that is pressure from society,
Hmm.
or if you belong to a religious community,
Hmm.
that expectation, because it comes with shame. I was talking to a friend recently, and she was saying she met this person, and she's a Christian, but she was scared and they're thinking of becoming intimate. I don't know why I'm whispering, but like she's hearing me. I'm sure she would manifest Shelly's story. But her fear is getting pregnant out of um, marriage. And I was saying to her, you don't have to get pregnant. There's different ways in, not that I'm saying that you should, but she was thinking of maybe getting in that intimate relationship. But her big fear was pregnancy because of what people might say if she was a single parent. Um, and I think she also just suddenly realized that I was a single parent, so she apologized. But I thought, I'm not ashamed of being a single parent. I'm
Mhm.
very proud to be a. I didn't choose it. I went through that journey, but I'm very proud because my daughters are doing extremely well in their life.
Mhm.
They're flourishing and they're
Mhm.
happy. So there shouldn't be shame around that because sometimes you don't have a choice when a relationship ends for whatever reason. And sometimes it's safer to do that because if, for example, it's an abusive relationship where there's domestic violence, you don't want your children to be in that environment.
Mhm.
Because so much time you hear people say, "Oh, I'm staying together for the sake of the children," but actually you're damaging the children more by staying together. And I'm speaking from a professional, but with a head here, where as a therapist,
Yeah.
you hear that all the time. But actually, in the long run, the children end up with more symptoms of mental health issues.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of, and plus additionally, when they are in that family, they have wrong example of like how the relationship look like as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so that's a big problem
Yeah,
which needs to be addressed, I think.
yeah. I'm just checking the time because I am not timing us. Silver, what's the time? How much time have we got? Because I could start preaching.
I think we could do another
Yeah.
5-10 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So I suppose it's kind of like just an assumption that this is really aimed for people who are just going through that transition in their life and maybe taking stock to think about the decision. You either made the decisions for a reason because of your relationship, the experience, or the person probably didn't have a choice. Maybe they were left.
Mhm.
The partner, husband have left them in that situation. So whatever the situation you're in, know that it's going to get better. But I think, first of all, you have to be just accept this is where I am now. You
Mhm.
know, it's, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the future is going to look like, but this is my reality right now.
Mhm.
I mean, what would you say about that in terms of if this is where people are right now?
Mhm. Um, I would add in to that, just forgive yourself,
Hmm.
because yeah, we're blaming ourselves for everything that went wrong in that relationship, where obviously there's two parts into the relationship, so it's never one person's fault. Could we have done better? Maybe, but we didn't have that knowledge. So it's just unpeeling all of those wounds first. um, and yeah, as you said, accepting where you are right now. That will be the most important step before you do anything.
And part of that would be, so there's probably shame, blame, but also anger,
Mm-hmm.
because it comes with the anger in terms of one person might feel like it's not fair because one person might be left with the house, see having more of the children with time with them, probably financially have to give more. It comes with so much emotions, and that gets or guilt, because if you're the one who left because maybe you've had an affair or whatever, that might be a lot of emotions there, so that gets in the way of you moving forward. It blocks progress.
Mm-hmm.
um and I mean, I'm always surprised. I'm working with a few couples at the moment, and they're trying to figure out kind of childcare, and in terms of finance, when to see the child, who gets what. And one of the things that comes up a lot in those relationships, when it's not ended in a good way, because sometimes people end and it's a mutual decision, but when
Yeah.
it's not mutual, you find a lot of the emotion that comes up is like there's blame of one parent. So if the children are in the middle, one parent is blaming the other, so the child is get caught in the middle. Um, then there's like one parent is trying to withhold the other parent from seeing the child. So there's that comes up a lot. And really, just if there's a step parent or another partner involved, one parent doesn't don't want the child to be around the partner. So lots of stuff comes up
Mm-hmm.
when if you're in that situation. And I think my message usually is what is the highest context? You've got to think about your child or children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're angry. Yes, you're resentful. Yes, you're feeling sad, but think about what is the best decision for your child right now,
Mm-hmm.
and what can you do in order to make sure that they're happy, even if you don't like the person. I was going to say the B word, but like the BA word. Um, can I use that word? I don't know. Even if you don't like the person.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm thinking of myself like I was really at one point angry, although I left the relationship because I thought it wasn't right for me and my children. But I still felt angry because of kind of having left with a lot of responsibility. So
Mm,
in my situation, I was left with financial responsibility, almost 99% care of the children. So there was a lot of resentment there. And quickly I had to kind of over time get over that in order
mm-hmm.
to make sure that my daughters are not seeing that anger in me, and also the guilt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure when you're
Mhm.
on that side of uh, the post relationship, which
Mhm.
makes things even more difficult because obviously you're trying to show the children that they are the most important in the world,
Mhm.
trying
Mhm.
to make up for things, um, but there is something in the back of your mind. Why am I doing everything? There is a little bit of this
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But I suppose the good news is it changes, it gets better, and with time you learn to forgive and let go.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you won't move forward. So, like you said, it's not always one person's fault. But when you're in that high emotion, you just blame the one person. But if you can stop and think back, you think, well, actually, I made the choice to be in that relationship. I
Hmm.
made the choice to do this. So it's not just the person's fault. And the positives are that when you look back, there were good times. It
Exactly.
wasn't always bad. There were you got lovely children out of that experience with your parent, and so there's good in it. So I think it's good to look at the positives and the negatives, and when you're looking back, it's really thinking about what have I learned from this experience, what
Yeah.
have I learned about myself, so when I'm ready to go into a new relationship, kind of what would that look like.
Hmm. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. It's very important that we have that inventory, kind of like, saying what was good in it as well, because very often we're just concentrating on the negative, and we're
mhm,
in that spiral of like negative thoughts of like, yeah, that person didn't do this. Even now, after all of this, they not doing what they should, but
mhm.
at some point you do have to release that in order to move on.
Yeah, because it's not about the person, it's really about you, about me, and taking responsibility for moving on. So when you're in that space of where you can release and move forward, it's a great place to be, because then you can start kind of creating the new life
Hmm.
that you dream about. You have the freedom to then choose. So I think we're kind of coming to the end,
Hmm.
to round off. So I just one key thing to say: it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time to evolve from if you're going through separation and divorce, and if you're thinking of going into new relationship, because not everybody wants a new relationship. Some people are like, nope, that's it. I've done it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it again. But that's probably because you feel you've been hurt, and also you don't know how to trust again.
Hmm.
Um, so I think we kind of want to share a few tips with people.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. um like, I'm hoping that in general, because I still believe it's kind of like a taboo. Nobody is talking about
Mm,
divorces or going through things. like it's actually very normal. You know, with the divorce rate being so high, this is a normal situation. We should be talking about it more to raise the awareness and show people that this is like another stage of your life, and you don't have to be ashamed of yourself that things didn't work for you. So yeah, that will be my intention for people listening, just to understand it's not your fault. You know, things like that happen, and you will get better at some point.
Yeah. And absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Don't feel guilty, because if you feel guilty and you're a parent, that you start guilty parenting. So it's about accepting that when you got into that relationship, the choice wasn't to end it, but life is unpredictable. You cannot predict the outcome, even if you have good intentions to make a relationship work. And even if you decide to go into a new relationship, there's no guarantee. It's really about making sure that with or without a relationship, you can find happiness. And I guess if you're choosing relationship, I suppose I've got a couple of tips, like maybe you look back to when you had made decisions in terms of things. So when were you able to use your intuition to make right choices? And what did that feel like? Because that would allow you to trust and know that when you're meeting someone, that you use that intuition to kind of say, actually, this doesn't feel right. And kind of note when you're wrong other people. How do you feel? Do you feel safe or unsafe? Even that's around friends or in work situation or family members. Start noticing the feelings you feel around certain people, because that's going to start teaching you how to trust your instincts, and just really kind of take your time to heal, to enjoy life, to find you again, and gradually you will know when you're ready to go into new relationship, if that's is the choice that you want to make.
Yeah, I would add to it. I really like that explanation of like what are the relationship for, that it's the reason, the season, or the lifetime, right? I really like that, because it helped me to let go of, okay, maybe the season or the reason is complete. So you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think really relationships are to share and to enjoy, but they're not. It's not that the person that you're in a relationship with, it's not their responsibility to make you happy. So you should be going to a relationship already feeling happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think we've run out of time. It's been a pleasure to always collaborate with you, Sylvia, and to have these conversations. So thanks everyone for listening, for subscribing and sharing our videos. And we're always interested in hearing your comments and feedback. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much.